Picture this. You're being escorted through the highest, most glorious realms of the cosmos. You'd probably expect to hear thunderous choirs, right? Joyous angels singing praises. But today, in this explainer, we're diving into a fascinating ancient account where a visionary named Enoch experiences the exact opposite. We're going to explore an epic, deeply emotional narrative of cosmic rebellion, devastating consequences, and ultimately, a really tragic but beautiful redemption. Because when Enoch arrives in the fifth heaven, he doesn't find glory. He finds something utterly heartbreaking. He steps into this vast celestial realm, and instead of a heavenly host, he's hit with this crushing, absolute silence. The text says, "And the silence of their mouths perpetual, and there was no service on the fifth heaven." I mean, just let that sink in for a second. He's dropped right into this eerie, heavy quiet. No singing, no worship. Just a thick, sorrowful stillness hanging over an endless army of beings. Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, the silent fifth heaven, a realm of melancholy giants. So Enoch is naturally completely bewildered by this desolate scene, right? He turns to his angelic guides for answers because he desperately needs to understand what could possibly drain all the joy out of a heavenly realm. They explain exactly who he's looking at. These beings are known as the Grigori. They're described as countless celestial soldiers, and what's really fascinating here is that they're explicitly noted as having a human appearance. These aren't your abstract, incomprehensible wheels of fire covered in eyes. They look human, but their scale and their military purpose are entirely otherworldly. They're a massive garrison stationed right there in the fifth heaven. And this brilliantly illustrates the tragic paradox of the Grigori. On one hand, you have their staggering physical scale. The text says their size is greater than that of great giants. We are talking about massive, awe-inspiring celestial warriors. But spiritually, emotionally, their faces are withered, and they're described as deeply melancholy. It's such a stark contrast. You have these gigantic figures of immense power, but they're entirely broken, just weeping and trapped in a state of perpetual sorrow. So how did they get this way? Let's look at Section 2, Descent to Mount Hermon, the Rebellion of Satan. To understand why these massive beings are trapped in this frozen state, the guides have to uncover their really dark history. It all started before time, when the Grigori, following their prince, Satan, actually rejected the Lord of Light. Following this massive cosmic rebellion, a faction of these fallen celestial beings descended from the Lord's throne straight down to Earth, specifically landing at Mount Hermon. During this earthly age, they utterly broke their vows. They saw human women, took them as wives, and kicked off an age of terrible, chaotic consequences that resulted in monstrous giants being born. Which brings us to the grim aftermath in Section 3, Giants, Lawlessness, and Judgment, the Condemned Brethren. This rebellion had a devastating physical impact on the human world. The guides lay out exactly what happened. The Grigori literally befouled the earth with their deeds. Their actions created unparalleled lawlessness and a wicked mixing across that entire age. This unnatural union between celestial beings and human women birthed these monstrous, marvelous big men and giants. And the result of all that? Great enmity. They completely disrupted the natural order and essentially turned the earth into a theater of violence. And God didn't just let that slide. Because of this massive corruption, God judged them with a great judgment. Those specific beings who descended and corrupted the earth were condemned to be held under the earth until heaven and earth end forever. Some are held in great darkness on the second heaven. And this is the agonizing truth Enoch finally uncovers. The silent Grigori standing around in the fifth heaven, they aren't just sad for themselves. They are continuously weeping for their condemned brethren who are suffering this eternal punishment. But here's where things shift. Section 4, Enoch's plea for worship. The turning point. This brings our narrative right back to the present moment, back to the silent fifth heaven. Enoch tells these giants that he actually saw their brethren. He saw their works. He saw their great torments. And get this, he even prayed for them. He delivers the hard, painful truth about their condemnation, but then he steps up as a compassionate intervener. I want you to feel the weight of this moment. Enoch looks up at these towering, withered giants who believe they are just completely beyond hope, too far gone for forgiveness. And he asks them this piercing question: "Wherefore do you wait, brethren, and do not serve before the Lord's face?" He's directly calling out their paralysis. He's speaking to being so frozen by guilt and grief that they've literally given up on their entire purpose. So the crucial point is how Enoch motivates them. He actually leverages the terror of their situation. He issues a very stark warning. Do not wait. Do not fail to put your services before the Lord's face. Why? Because of the ultimate risk, lest you anger your Lord utterly. He's essentially telling them, look, your brothers are lost, yes, but you are still here. If you keep up this silent, miserable rebellion of an action, you're going to push God to utter anger too. It is a massive, powerful wake-up call. Section 5. The mournful heavenly chorus, breaking the silence. Let's move to and see how this builds, because the emotional tension here is off the charts. Is his admonition going to fall on deaf ears? Well, the response is monumental. First, the Grigori actually listen. Then they speak to the four ranks in heaven, activating the whole celestial hierarchy. Enoch just stands by as four trumpets suddenly sound together with a massive, great voice. They take his advice. They finally resume their liturgical worship. These withered, melancholy giants break into song with one unified voice. The perpetual silence is finally shattered. But we have to notice how they sing. It's not this triumphant, flawless song of pure joy. No. The text says, and their voice went up before the Lord pitifully and affectingly. This is what makes this entire scene so profoundly beautiful. They are resuming their service, but they're doing it with shattered hearts. It's a mournful song, completely heavy with the grief of their fallen brethren and their own past failures. And yet, it goes up before the Lord. It is a deeply moving, tragic act of redemption. Which leaves us with this final thought. The story of the Grigori in the fifth heaven, it isn't just some ancient cosmic myth. It's a really powerful emotional arc about paralysis, about deep grief, and the sheer courage it takes to resume your purpose. They were completely frozen by the sins of their past and the loss of their peers, but through a simple, compassionate challenge from a human, they found a way to serve again, even if their song was stained with sorrow. So it makes you wonder, after a massive, life-altering failure, what does it truly take to break your own silence and find your voice again?